welcome along if you're here for the talk on Geography and Environmental Science degrees at the University of Dundee. My name is Alistair Geddes and we'll dive straight into the session. What you should see on your screens here just now is a holding slide which just tells you, first of all, how we're going to interact through this session. Unfortunately, we can't allow guest visitors such as yourself to switch on cameras or audio microphones during this talk, and instead we have to use the text-based Q&A, which appears on the right-hand side of your screen. So if you go to the top right of your screen, you should see a Q&A button, and you can type questions there. And we really encourage questions through this means, clunky as it is. If we get lots of questions, then we may pause the Q&A for a time just to allow us to catch up. And the final thing to note, just before we get going, is that if you've got any questions specifically about admissions, for example, if you're sitting on a set of grades and you want to know whether we will be looking at the grades that you've got, then please note that there's a dedicated admissions Q&A, which is in the live events tab on the virtual tour page. Now, this year too, I should say that we're using a augmented format. We're using a platform called vFairs, which hopefully most of you will have been in to see, different booths where you can access some videos about different subjects, and also a variety of other topics about coming to University at Dundee. So we hope that you've been enjoying that so far. So with that, I'm just going to move on here. So who we got along today are myself. My name again is Alistair Geddes, and I put my email there in case you've got any questions after this session, so please make a note of it. So I'll be leading this talk because I'm one of the admissions tutors. I'm the admissions tutor for Geography and Environmental Science undergraduate degrees at the University of Dundee. And I'm very pleased to welcome two others to help with me. If you're looking at the slide, on the left-hand side, we've got Masha Kraupa, who is one of our fourth-year students going into fourth year, her final year of studies in our MA Honours Geography degree. Masha is from Germany and joins us from there today, and she's one of our superstar students. She's been progressing really well and making the most of her degree as she's been going, and I hope that there'll be a chance for Masha to add a word or two about that shortly. Also, we have one of my staff colleagues, Dr. Simon Cook, whose picture you see on the right-hand side. Simon is a physical geographer who's been with us a little bit less than I have, but has become a really important part of the teaching team and Geography and Environmental Science at Dundee. And hopefully between the three of us, we can answer any questions you may have through the course of the next 50 minutes or so. Now, through the talk, I've just set out a brief, broad outline here. I want to go through, first of all, maybe a few points about why you might choose to study geography and/or environmental science. Then some points about choosing Dundee, and in particular the Geography and Environmental Science team, department, programme, whatever you want to call it at Dundee. Then I'll drill down a little bit more and say a bit more about the degree structure, that is, how it's composed, and importantly mention aspects of flexibility and choice that you have as a student within the structure. And then I want to come to at the end some points about careers and graduate destinations. Now, before I get into that, I've got to navigate between multiple screens here myself. And I'm going to go and just ask you, if you do have questions, please do type them as of now into the Q&A chat, so that myself and Simon and Masha, we can all look to answer them as we go, and we can also sort of keep an eye on where to focus particular points in response to any questions that we've got. What would be really good to do to start with is, if you don't mind, is just actually putting down where you're joining us from. So just a broad indication whether it's within Scotland, outside of Scotland, in the rest of the UK, or even further afield than that, that would be absolutely brilliant, just to give us a handle on where you're coming from. And please, if you've got any questions, just add them in there now, and that really helps us as we go along here. So again, it's all just in the text, and you won't see your question appear immediately. It will come to us, and then we can publish it as it's known, so it becomes public. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the presentation just now, and first of all, just on that first point, why might you choose a degree in geography and environmental science? Now, this is an increasingly important question, I think, for a number of reasons. Probably the most important reason is that it's sometimes hard not to get a little bit gloomy, perhaps, about the many changes which are going on in the world just now, be that in terms of things like changes in the natural environment, such as deforestation, pressures on resources such as food and other things, other impacts on the environment via climate change, such as through changes in ice conversion to water in the form of changes in ice caps, or other impacts such as you see in the bottom right hand screen here, marine pollution through plastics. Now, these indeed are very big problems, grand challenges, commonly known as wicked problems, and undoubtedly they're very severe, and they require us to think about how we can tackle them. It requires all of us to think about how we tackle them. And I think our view collectively, not just within Dundee, but as a body, as a subject or set of subjects more broadly, is that this is an increasingly important time for geography and environmental science. And I say that because both subjects involve integration of lots of things, integration of different types of knowledge about people, about physical aspects, linked together by location. And geography and environmental science are both very much about location and space and related aspects such as distance. So that's an important reason to an important opportunity. Our subjects have been for quite some time dealing with the integration which is required to address these challenges. It requires integration of different forms of data, and what we see on this in the slides on the screen here are some examples of that. So we've got everything from maps, increasingly digital forms of map-based data, and technologies such as geographic information systems or satellite remote sensing, but still there is also a need to go out into the field to collect data from there. So measure, which contributes to better models, which contributes to better knowledge and understanding. And you can see some of our students taking a measurement of the side of coastal erosion bank or coastal bank, where they're measuring height in the field in an area local to Dundee. And through other forms of skills and knowledge building, such as through synthesis and communication, it is important then to translate the knowledge that we get about the changes into ways in which others can understand it. So as much as there are challenges, I think our view is that, you know, this only makes it more important for our subject areas in terms of what they can do in terms of generating understanding and ways forward for tackling these challenges. I don't want to underscore the severity of them, but I think it you know, casts us in a very relevant sort of light. So that's a little bit about why we might be interested in the subjects overall. And well, actually, one other thing I think I would like to add to that is I think it's important to recognise that the way in which we study geography and environmental science is quite a bit different now from what has gone on in secondary schools. So I would also just add, and I hope this comes through in the rest of my presentation, that we hope that you get a way to look at the importance of geography and environmental science, which you might, in ways which you might not get from the ways in which it is taught at secondary school just now. And that's all I'm going to say on that for the time being. What I want to say now is where Dundee as a university places in, let's say, in the UK context. And so what I've got here is a variety of recent rankings, and we can take rankings, we can leave them. They are, whichever way we view them, increasingly important in trying to work out how well we're doing against a variety of other institutions which are trying to do things like us. So important to say, first of all, that Dundee is in the top 20 in the UK according to the Guardian University Guide of 2021. There's another major survey called the National Student Survey, which surveys fourth year students. And the university as a whole came out quite high, with about 78% of full-time students being very satisfied with their undergraduate degrees. And yet geography and environmental science fourth year students, more of them, 93% of them, were satisfied. So that would be the students who graduated last year, and that placed us in the top 10 geography and environmental science programmes in the UK for that particular measure of satisfaction. Some other important rankings: the university is in the top 30 in the UK according to the Complete University Guide, first in Scotland for graduate prospects. And a recent mark, which I think is the university perhaps hasn't shouted loudly enough, is that according to the Times Higher Education, it's considered to be first in the UK for climate action. And that means the impact of the research for addressing some of the challenges which I was referring to earlier, in particular addressed to what are called the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which some of you may know about. So the university's research translates into transformation of lives for people where lives and livelihoods are affected adversely for climate action, and certainly there's some good examples of that within geography and environmental science alone. Now, the last 2 years have been difficult to say anything about our campus because most of us haven't been on campus for the last couple of years, but I'm very glad to say that at the present time we are preparing, as of next month, for students to return to campus. So where is the campus? Where is Dundee? Dundee's in the east of Scotland, about an hour north of Edinburgh, 1 hour north of Edinburgh. It's in the city centre of Dundee. It occupies a compact site there, and it has seen over the last 10 years large investments in teaching facilities, research facilities, student facilities, including accommodation, residences, and things like sports facilities. And some of the pictures you see on this slide should illustrate that. And that's been recognised through a number of awards, both for the student residences and the student union. You can see a picture of people queuing up to get into the union nightclub, which is on the weekend. But it's important to say that the union is much more than just that. It's not just a place for fun. It's a really important part of student representation at Dundee University, and the student union, the student voice as it's known, plays a really important part in shaping the direction which the university takes. So they're involved in, if you like, the governance of the institution too. So it has a really important role beyond providing just the entertainment side of the university for students. Now I want to come on and say a few things about what makes geography and environmental science at Dundee special, I guess. What is the Dundee way? And I want to say that a couple of points. First of all, that our approach is defined by people. That is working very much with our students. So co-partnership, working closely with students, be that off campus, on campus, and small group teaching. Those sorts of things are really important to us. And we're able to do that in part because of our size. We're not a super huge university, and we're not a tiny university. We're sort of medium in the UK context, and we think that gives us this ability to work with good class sizes whilst attaining the sorts of efficiencies which management structures would like us to work to. And importantly, our approach is defined by Dundee as a city. It's a city which is transforming. It's been transformed through things like the V&A, Victoria and Albert Design Museum, the waterfront, which is bringing a number of changes to the city. We're a very friendly city, and I think students enjoy it there because it's not a very large city such as London or other big cities in the UK. It's very walkable. It's got a number of things right in your doorstep. Our approach to working with our students is focusing on knowledge and skills development with a strong emphasis on graduate futures. We work closely too with a number of external bodies to try to bring in that, if you like, that sort of real world dimension to our teaching and our learning at a variety of different scales. And fieldwork, I put in brackets, rebuilding, because this is something which we are doing now. We've had to suspend fieldwork because of the COVID situation, but as of the last few weeks, we've been focusing very much, given the green light from the Scottish Government, on ways in which we can rebuild fieldwork as an important part of courses with us and at all years of study. Saying a little bit more about that size dimension. So there are 17 core research active staff, myself and Simon included, based in geography and geography and environmental science, and we're composed of broadly evenly split between human and social geographers and physical geographers and environmental scientists. So geography does have that breadth. Environmental science also has a number of components to it. I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail just shortly, but we try to cover that through, as I say, that even spread of staff. Importantly, we've also got great technical support through lab technicians and technicians who help us with preparing a variety of other things, be it computer-based practicals or other things which we deliver. We pride ourselves on having an open door policy to our students. That goes to that idea of working closely with students. So if you've got problems, we don't want you to store them up and wait till an appointment next week. We try to make sure that students know that they can come and approach us at any time, be it through a quick email or when we are on campus and resume more like normal working on campus, they can come along and knock on our door and we will try to make time to see them very swiftly. I mentioned too about class sizes. Class sizes, because we're sort of a medium-sized university, means that we can run class sizes where you don't feel lost, but we can organise a variety of different forms of formats, be it small group to individual to whole class sort of exercises. And we are sort of stress maintaining a good number of contact hours between staff and students across all levels. We have designed our teaching and learning to be both campus-based and field-based, and to include a variety of assessment styles suited to different learning styles. And this is also outcomes focused, by which I mean we really want to give you feedback that helps your learning. So not just give you a grade on how well you've done, but we've also designed our assessment structures so that we give you as much feedback as possible about what you could do in the future to strengthen the way in which you tackle particular assignments, or more generally sort of approach all assignments. This is a selection of staff you see around the screen here. So again, myself and Simon, plus some of our other colleagues, and we're all research active, and we all work on a variety of different projects, and you can see a variety of locations starred on the map here. So research really does stretch from local projects to national projects to international projects. If I say just a word or two about some recent projects I've been working on. So two most recent ones, I worked with colleagues in our medical school on looking at participation in a national cancer screening programme and how that varied across Scotland and reasons why it varied across Scotland. And right now I'm working with colleagues in our dental school on looking at links between high levels of fluoride in drinking water and dental problems in an area in southern Malawi, which is in central southern Africa. And all my colleagues could probably list an equally diverse array of projects. which just shows, through the range of us there, we can offer a lot of opportunities for students. And it is important to say that, because we're all doing research in various places, that gives us these opportunities to allow you to experience what we would call research-led teaching. So our teaching is kept fresh by our research, by what we're doing, translates into opportunities for, say, assisting in analyses, preparing you as researchers, going to different places to be involved in data collection, as some of the pictures around this slide show. Now, and one final thing, then I'm going to pause just for a minute. It's important to say too that as part of our teaching and learning strategy, when you come to us, you won't be assessed purely on exams at the end of a block of time, end of a term, end of semester. And in fact, none of our modules is assessed entirely based on an examination. An examination is only one component of most modules. There's a few modules, including one I teach actually, which is entirely assessed on coursework without any exam. And coursework is not all in the form of essays. There's a variety of different assessment types that we use, from reports to policy briefs to bibliographies, literature reviews, diaries, etc. And we also include non-written assessments, so we really put some focus on developing your skills presenting verbally and visually through things like posters, but increasingly also to, we're moving from, I suppose, presenting graphically based on maps to doing things online through apps. So for example, in the module I teach on Geographic Information Systems, GIS, I've had an assignment where students have to design an app which could be used on mobile devices. Now, I'm going to pause at this point here and just want to see how the questions are going. So I've got David along from Murray. Hello, David, from me. Katie, hello. Environmental Sustainability and Geography MA. Do you have any information on that specific course? Katie, in this presentation, because it's meant to cover a variety of degrees, I can't say too much specific about that, but maybe at the end, if we've got a wee bit of time, we can come back to that, and certainly we could follow up by email if we can answer all your questions that you may have just now. So please keep questions coming along. That's really, really helpful. Anything which jumps out from the slides just now, please just add it into the text chat, and it really helps us all here. Yes, one other point too about who we are at Dundee in terms of resources. We are well stocked with resources, so we've got a variety of investments. We've got our own lab separate from the sort of the main biology, chemistry, life sciences labs at the university. We make some significant investments in softwares such as remote sensing, satellite software, or GIS, different types of GIS software for you guys to be able to use. We've got our own field equipment store. We offer training with that as part of degrees, so you can then take it out yourself and use it for projects, notably in your honours years. And the library on campus is well stocked with study spaces, with PCs, as well as books and academic journals, which you use throughout your degree. The picture in the centre just shows one student who has taken some equipment for dye tracing out to, I think it's to the Alps there, to just actually have a look at how fluid flows, be water melting off of ice here. So this is one method which could be used. So I should add that dye is entirely sustainable, biodegradable. It's not going to damage the environment, but it's just an example of some of the things that you could do as part of your degrees with us. Now, what I wonder at this stage, I've talked for a bit. Masha, I've got a slide here of our student society, which is the Geography and Environmental Student Society, Environmental Science Student Society, or GESS. And GESS traditionally put on an annual ball at the end of the year. They arrange talks, they do fundraising, and importantly, they have ambassadors such as Masha, who's along here. So Masha, I wonder if you might turn on your microphone at this point here, and you can offer a little bit of a student's perspective, whether or not it's about the Student Society or just other aspects of your time with us so far.
Sure. So the society, there are so many societies, by the way, in Dundee, it's crazy. This specifically one is great just to socialize and get to know people with the same interests that you have, and that's always a good starting point, I feel like, especially if you're new in the city. Yeah, and yeah, I can just talk a little bit maybe about my experience as a student at the University of Dundee so far, and also I'm studying geography. So I've really enjoyed it so far, actually, because the course is very engaging and it covers a very wide variety of topics, and sometimes I surprised myself quite a bit with the topics that I enjoyed engaging with. I was able to I don't know, read and learn about topics, everything from sustainable development to feminist criminology and glaciers, and it's all very interesting, and I really do enjoy the course. The lecturers and the staff are also always very supportive and happy to help, which makes everything a little bit easier. I would always recommend to ask if you have any questions or if you're stuck, because that always makes it so much easier. Yeah, and although we couldn't do any field trips last semester, sadly, we were still able to work in a team on a small research project, which was really nice just to like, yeah, work on the project, I guess, and learn how to actually work in an academic thing. Sorry, I'm from Germany. It's not my first language, I'm very sorry. Yeah, and outside of studying, then I also feel like I think Dundee has like 200 societies or more, and you can join anything. Like there are so many sports societies, or I don't know, game societies, and then you have guests, which is always also a pretty good place to start, I think. And yeah, and then on a professional basis, I would also like to add that the career service is also very helpful at the University of Dundee. They helped me to secure an internship this summer, which was really cool, and I would never have gotten that internship without the help of the career service. So I think overall you get a lot of support from the staff and the lecturers, and yeah, I think that's it for me for now.
Thank you very much indeed, Masha. That was very helpful, and you raised a lot of points which I would simply have forgotten about. The point about other societies on campus, and the point about the welcoming nature of the Geography and Environmental Science Society for new students. They're really, really important points. So thanks very much indeed for that, and the other points which we made, and hopefully we can, you know, come back to you if I keep zipping along here too. So I'm going to turn now to the degrees which we offer, and we offer a fair portfolio of degrees, which I've tried to list here on this slide. So we offer what we're called single honours degrees in geography alone or environmental science alone, and those can be taken as a Master of Arts, an MA, or a Bachelor of Science, BSc. And for people outside of Scotland, the idea that we can have an undergraduate degree called a Master of Arts, when Masters is usually a postgraduate designation elsewhere, seems a bit strange, but nonetheless, historically, the MA has been the traditional undergraduate degree in Scotland. It's not just Dundee that offers this. You'll find that all Scottish institutions have an MA programme as an undergraduate degree. We also offer joint honours degrees in geography and environmental science through an MA or BSc again. And then through our MA programme, you can take geography in combination with another subject. And you can see the list on the screen here, hopefully. So that could be from the economics area, so it's economics or business economics and marketing, You can take geography and environmental sustainability as a joint degree, geography and history, geography with politics of psychology, or you can do geography with a European language and with a choice of French, German or Spanish. And when you do a joint degree, that basically means you're balancing the amount you take from geography or environmental science against the other subjects that you're taking. So it's roughly a 50-50 balance of content. If you want more details on these degrees, then I've put the web link at the bottom of the page there, dundee.ac.uk/undergraduate. And I want just to point out too that the geography degrees are accredited through the Geography and Environmental Science programme. They're accredited through the Royal Geographical Society, which is probably the most eminent geography body in the world in many respects. There isn't a comparable designation yet for environmental science, and so we're investigating various options there. But you know, where there are appropriate accreditations, we aim for our programmes to be accredited, and that's what we've done so far, as I said, with the geography degrees. Now, environmental science is what it's called our interdisciplinary degree, and here this plays more into my colleague Simon's background and knowledge. So Simon, I wonder if you might come in at this point and speak to this slide, if that's okay, not to drop you in it.
No, that's fine. Thanks, Alistair. Hope everyone can hear me. My toddler was screaming a couple of moments ago, so hopefully people won't think badly of me about that. Anyhow, yeah, so I'm Simon Cook. I'm the first year environmental science tutor. So I'm provide, I guess, some general pastoral support for first year environmental scientists, among other things, and run the two modules that you would take in the first year as part of an environmental science degree. And indeed, many of the geography students as environmental sustainability students would also take those two environmental science modules at first year. So environmental science, I think probably a greater emphasis placed on science than in the geography programme, although the two programmes sometimes overlap in terms of modules that students might choose on each of those different degree programmes. And I think one of the other things is that we also have a number of students who graduate actually as joint honours degrees between geography and environmental science to maximise their choice of modules throughout their fourth year. But in terms of environmental science itself, it's kind of a crossover of multiple parts of the Earth system. So we tend to think about things in terms of what we call, I'm going to use some fancy terms here, the lithosphere. So if you like, the rocks and the physical makeup of the Earth, and the atmosphere, which hopefully is reasonably understandable, the hydrosphere, so oceans and rivers and so on, the biosphere, so green stuff, trees and tropical forests and so on, and I think importantly people as well. And so environmental science really is to look at each of those different parts of the Earth system on its own, but also importantly the linkages between those parts of the Earth system and the feedbacks between different parts of the Earth system. So perhaps, you know, the most obvious one would be the feedbacks between the humans and you know, people, and you know, all of those different parts of the Earth's sort of natural system in terms of climate change and resource use and so on. But the programme itself draws upon expertise from across the university. So geography and environmental science is a discipline or a department within the university. But you can see on the slide here from Alistair that you've got contributions from life sciences, from physics, civil engineering, this sort of research institute called the James Hutton Institute, which is kind of split between Dundee and Aberdeen, but they have a campus just outside the city, actually, in just outside Dundee, and also staff from the university's botanic gardens. And if you've ever visited Dundee, you've kind of got the airport, and then opposite that pretty much is the botanic gardens, and well worth a visit if you are here. Anything else from me, Alistair? Does that cover what you need?
That's terrific, Simon. Thanks very much. Just to say that the slides across the bottom show respectively part of the campus. The middle one is a aerial view of the James Hutton Institute at Invergowrie, just outside of Dundee, and then a picture from the Botanic Gardens there. But that's smashing. I'll continue on here, so thanks, Simon. In terms of the entry points, so what you need to come into our programme. So most of our students are interested in coming in at level 1, that is for first year. And I've listed the typical requirements, so that would be 2 A's, 2 B's at Highers, or if you're doing A levels, that would be 3 B's. If you get higher than that, better grades than that, then you can consider coming in at second year, advanced level 2 as that's known. Although I have to say, even students who have those qualifications from school still often prefer to do a 4-year degree. University goes by awfully quickly, and I'm sure Masha would sort of testify to that. You're no sooner here than you're in your 4th year. And so for some students, 3 years probably isn't long enough. And I would say, as a member of staff who's been around for a while, that you see this transformation which goes on, and a lot of young people who come in, you know, fresh out of school, a little bit less certain of what they might want to do, and by the time they've finished the end of their degree, they're a very different sort of person and ready for the next part in their lives. All the entry points are listed again on the university's website, and I've just got an example of a screenshot on this page here, slide here, which shows the sorts of information along the bottom here. You can see the entry requirements are included in the tabs for each of our degrees listed on the university website. There are other entry points to the degrees. So we have a widening access agenda. So that is where the university carefully targets opportunities on those who traditionally may not have the opportunity to come to university. And so for most who come through this route, this might require completing a bridging course, typically a summer school in advance of your first year, which you can consider a bit like pre-season training. It's to get you up to speed, get you ready for being part of level 1 first year. Another route would be with our BSc Environmental Science degree. You can do an articulation with the local further education college, Dundee and Angus. And with that, what you would do, you would apply to the university, but you would do your higher national certificate in applied sciences at the college, which is also in Dundee. And if you complete that, and that would be equivalent to your first year, then you would join the environmental science degree in second year. If you're coming from overseas and you may not have the qualifications which we need, then you can join what's called the International College Dundee, which is on the university's campus. And there you do a special bachelor's degree. If you complete that, then again, it would be considered equivalent to your first year, and then you would join into your second year of your chosen degree. And that bachelor's also includes English teaching if your English requires some work before you start your degree proper. And you can see the links for both of the Widening Access, the International College Dundee, and indeed, in fact, the articulation is listed. You can find web links for all of these on the university's website. Now, I want to go on and say a bit about how you would build your degree with us, and really emphasise that you've got flexibility and choice if you join us. So our degrees are made up of individual modules, which Simon referred to. Some modules are required or compulsory, but you get the chance to choose quite a few, indeed most modules for most of our degrees. Our modules are organised within semesters, and there are 2 semesters per year with 11 teaching weeks, and then some exam weeks at the end of them for modules which have exams. And I've just tried to map this out here, this module structure across the years. So you see along the top of each of these pillars, you've got year 1 first year through to year 4 fourth year. For years 1 and 2, well, for every year you're looking to take 120 credits. The difference between years 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is that you take more modules tariffed at smaller credit numbers, so typically 6 20-credit modules in each year, whereas when you get to honours year you do fewer modules, but they're tariffed higher, 30 credits each, which just shows how you're sort of drilling down, getting a bit more specialist as you progress through your degrees. Now, at levels 1 and 2, Simon mentioned this again, there are some modules which are required for our subjects. So environmental science has 2 required modules, 1 per semester. Geography is the same, so 1 per semester. So those modules would make up 2 to 4 out of the 6 required modules you take each year. So if you did a joint geography and environmental science degree, that would make up 4. If you're doing only geography or environmental science, then that would make up 2. And then you'd have to find the balance of modules. And the way you do that is by choosing modules from other subjects or from other options. And those other options include, they're listed here, modules from other subjects which are taught at the university, some of our own, and some which Masha mentioned from the career service. So starting at the top, our own modules, well, at the moment, this centres on a field course which runs in second year, in the second semester of second year. And this is something, again, which we're looking to get back to the status it was before COVID. We've got ways to go on that because it's still not possible to book accommodation for a week-long field trip with overnight stays for a large group. But we are hopefully, by the time you guys would be coming into your second years, if you were to join us, we would be looking hopefully at a situation where we could put that back on. Our colleagues in planning, architecture and urban planning, that is, they offer modules in environmental sustainability and urban planning, which you can also choose at levels 1 and 2. And then a variety of other subjects from those offered by politics and European studies, politics and international relations, psychology, business, economics, marketing, humanities focused modules, English, creative writing, film studies, history, philosophy, language modules, modules offered by colleagues in the School of Education and Social Work, and modules offered by our colleagues in science and engineering, in maths, computing, physics and astronomy. Now, those sorts of science-focused modules might require a fairly advanced level of science or maths. So we typically find that most of our students don't choose those modules because of that high tariff, but they are available if you do feel comfortable and competent with the requirements. And Masha mentioned the careers service, and they offer modules which you can take for credit 2 in second year, level 2. And there are 2 modules that they offer, a career planning module and an internship module. So Masha mentioned that she had an internship lined up with the career service, and this is something they do for a variety or a range of our students each year. We'll come back to that. I'm just conscious of time here, hopefully at the end. What's important to say here that you will get an advisor of studies when you join us, and they will generally advise you to take the required modules for 2 degree subjects until the end of level 2. So then you retain the option to change your degree. So let's say you're interested in geography, but you also wanted to try planning. If you took the required modules for both geography and planning to the end of level 2, and you started with a single honours geography degree, then you could exercise your right to say, well, actually, I want to do a joint degree in geography and planning, or, and we'd hope not, you could say that you could change your degree to planning and not take any more geography. So you have some flexibility. So what you come in with isn't necessarily what you have to stick with. And indeed, we find a number of students who do get some study of different subjects under their belt before making their final choice. At levels 3 and level 4, these are our honours modules. This is when our modules start to focus more on specialist research training and knowledge development, but even here there's still some choice, and we create that choice because we split those 30 credit modules I was showing before into 15 credit modules, so basically half modules, which allows us to offer a span across the human and physical and environmental branches of our subjects. So this choice would involve taking a subject in research methods in human geography, or alternatively in field and lab skills for physical geographers and environmental science. So that's basically research training. And you would partner those with either a module on advanced field research in human geography or in physical geography and environmental science. So the research methods, human geography and advanced human field research would go together, and similarly the field and lab skills and advanced physical field research would go together. So you still got that choice you can make even at third year. And then we have other required modules on applying geographical theory to the contemporary subject. a module in data handling statistics, so numeracy is important to us, and that's a requirement for some but not all of our degrees. And then for all of our degrees, we require a individual research project started in level 3, continuing into level 4, called a dissertation. Now, because there's 17 of us on staff and each of us has our own modular honours year, that means we can offer a range of different what we call specialist electives, which you can choose to make up your credit load to the 120 credits required for each of level 3 and level 4. And I've tried to list that here on this slide, where we've got in green, we've got modules in the more human geography area, in brown modules in the more physical geography, environmental science area, and then at the bottom in the sort of the cyan colour modules, which are more about geographical technologies, so the satellite remote sensing and GIS, geographic information systems and science. And in the interest of time, I can't really talk to any of these in any detail, but hopefully, and again, Masha already said this, she chose not to specialise in third year by the sounds of it, so she was able to take some modules which would give some experience in physical geography, so looking at things like glaciers, but also then coming through to thinking about more sociological elements of geography to do with criminology, so that would be through the module on environmental criminology. So you don't have to specialise in any one or other of these areas. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. The choice is there for you to make, to craft your degree as you want to. I don't know how many times I can say this, but we really are passionate about our subjects being field-based as well as campus-based subjects. And these are just some shots of prior to COVID where we've taken our students. So our level 2 field course, the top 2 pictures here are from an area in the Scottish Highlands that we traditionally take students to, based in Aviemore. So we've got students going out onto the Cairngorms, the top left, and the top right. We've got students up in Inverness doing something more on urban change and development. These would both be covered in the week residential. And as I said, we'd hope this is something that we could re-establish by the time you guys get back to us. And then lower slides, lower pictures rather, we've got pictures from the third year advanced field research modules. We've been fortunate enough in previous prior COVID years to take students to Iceland, and that's been great. We just don't know at this stage whether that is something that we can put back on again as we hopefully emerge and grow out of the COVID situation. But it'd be very much the idea that we'd like to give students a really good field experience. You know, whether it's Iceland, whether it's another location. The other picture shows the advanced human field research trip, which goes to the Benidorm area in southern Spain. So these are things which we are really important to us, and you might think that we just put our feet up in the last couple of years thinking that we don't have to deal with the logistics around these, but in fact we're really keen as staff to get these things back into our degrees, because we know that they really make degrees for a lot of our students. So hopefully we can get back to this in years to come. Study abroad opportunities are also available. They're typically in second year or third year for 1 or 2 semesters. I've got a map here which shows where some exchanges have taken place. Study abroad opportunities have been recently, and to take forward these opportunities, we have to know that we've got good partner institutions who've got degrees similar to ours, so we're not putting students in places where subjects are too easy or too hard. You can see that they're spread across the world, North America, Europe and Australia. I was speaking to one of my advisees who's just off to Waterloo, which is in Toronto. So she's been able to go across there, which is a good sign. I wasn't sure whether it was going to be able to happen again because of COVID, but she's actually just about away now and she's off there for her third year. So these are things which a lot of students want to explore. Now, career development, I'm racing through slides now. So we're really committed to making our degrees such that they provide you with relevant and valuable knowledge and skills. And there are various ways that you can build careers with your degrees. by building directly on the knowledge and skills which you build up. Importantly, and this applies to many students, by building on the transferable skills you'll get, whether that's in research or synthesis or modelling or teamwork, communication. There's a number of transferable skills that you will take from your degree. And a lot of our degrees also, we find a lot of our students go on to advanced study. So that be that a master's degree, a postgrad or teaching qualification, they can then go on to specialist professions. So they're gateways into specialist profession pathways. I think in the interests of time, I'm going to have to sort of whip on here, but hopefully just to sort of quickly summarise here. So here are 3 of our recent graduates. Natalie from London, Richard, who's a Scot, and Mary, who came from Newcastle. And you can see, if you look at the end here, the sorts of careers they've ended up in. So Natalie's gone into the civil service down in London. Again, Richard is now working for the Scottish Government as a GIS analyst, and Mary is now working for the National Farmers Union as their National Flood Risk Advisor. And here's a few more examples of recent graduates here, just to hopefully give you a spread. So environmental planners, advocacy and campaigns coordinators, resilience officers, consultants. And important to say here is that, you know, as in addition to what the Career Services offers, we work with Guest the Student Society to try to put on careers events and talks. And through Simon's good efforts, we now also have a LinkedIn group, which is a great way of connecting current students with our graduates to provide the current students with sort of early view, if you like, or make sure they don't miss opportunities which may be appropriate for them. So I'm going to finish up here. So we offer a range of degrees, different entry points, and lots of flexibility. Hopefully you can use that to build a degree to suit yourselves and your interests if you join us. And we're committed to integrating different learning styles with a mixed assessment approach, and we've got evidence that leads to high levels of student satisfaction. And we've got the strong focus on developing not just specialist knowledge and subject-specific skills, but also transferable skills. So that's all I want to say. That's all I've got time to say. And I just want to see if there's any more questions before we finish this off. I apologise for just going on a little bit there, but hopefully this has been helpful to you all. If you've got any other questions after the session, then please make a note of my email address too. But we'll just pause there for a quick minute and see if there's any additional questions. Katie, I'm just catching up with the Q&A there, and I see that Simon has put a link there to you for the specific environmental science and geography joint degree page on the website. Hopefully that will answer quite a few of your questions, but please feel free to get in touch with me and I can try and answer questions myself via email, or I can certainly link you up with other colleagues who may be better placed. So please just do that. If there are no more questions, then I would just like to say to you all, thank you very much for attending, and thank you also to Simon, to Masha for their help here. I hope that this encourages you to think about choosing Dundee for geography and/or environmental science. And you know, please go back if you're on the VFairs platform. Go and please have a look at the other information which is on offer there. There's some videos which are available in the School of Social Sciences booth for Geography and Environmental Science. And there's a ton of other information about admissions, finance, student union and student societies, all that kind of thing you'll find there. But what we're going to do now then is draw this talk to a close, and we'll be restarting with another talk, a repeat talk, in just about 5 minutes or so. There's one more question here. David, you're very welcome indeed. Glad that the talk was of interest to you, and yeah, be in touch if you need to. But we're going to pause here for a moment. I'm going to get myself a drink of water, so I'll be back in a moment to start the next session. So thanks to those of you who have joined just now.